Hey guys, welcome back to King's Conflict. Today we have an interesting match for you between the Rich King and the King of the Hunt. This is going to be a little bit of a different format where afterward we're going to go back and analyze one of the key moves that could have gone very differently had different choices been made. So saddle up and see how this one rides out. Alright, so we're going to start with the blue player's turn here, and he has a pretty great first hand. That Spell Slinger he draws in his first hand allows him to summon it in any space that he controls. He really should summon it to the far right on those hills, but he chooses not to. Instead, he's going to make this gambit. He'll summon the Stonemason right next to his king and the priest into his forest there. That's a lot more cost safe. It costs him a lot less, and the Spellslinger would have otherwise cost him 6 gold per turn. So that was just a different choice that he made. Now the Red King is going to make the exact same gambit, the same Stonemason and the same priest in the same places, very symmetrical, and then places the Hunter Halls in his small forest there. That's going to contribute a little bit of food, it's going to contribute a little bit of defense, and any of his ranged units that die is going to let him draw a card as a consequence. Now the blue player is going to move up. He just drew a Rogue Knight, so he's going to place that in the large plains region. Having control of that region means big gold. Now he's going to place the Spell Slinger because he controls the whole region. He can place it anywhere he wants in there, and he's going to place it as far forward as he possibly can. That's one of the big advantages of Mercenaries, is that they can be placed really far across the map really quickly. Of course, he's going to move his Stonemasons into the mountain range there, where it's going to start generating wall cards. Wall cards are small structures that basically take up space and just control regions or prevent your opponents from controlling regions. Now the red player just put his Stonemason likewise in the mountain range and then summoned a silver mine next to it. That was very vulnerable, but that's actually a huge smart move that he just made. He's going to distract the blue player and he's going to say, ooh, gotta kill those targets, and he's going to completely forget his main objective, which he could have accomplished actually on this turn, and we'll go back and we'll watch how he kind of messes that up. So he's going to play some cards, he's going to buff his unit's health there. That unit's much more effective when he has high health. He prevented his opponent from making gold by blocking up that forest, and finally he burned that expensive card just for the gold. He's not going to use it anytime soon anyhow. So the Red King there moves up to break that wall with his king. He burns this longbowman, doesn't have a whole lot of gold, and then he's going to play the Lava Imp. That's a really great play right now because the Lava Imp was able to attack twice, and each time the Lava Imp attacks, it increases its own attack power by 1. And with those 2 attacks, it can ramp up really quickly and become a deadly, powerful force to be reckoned with. So the blue player is going to make a pretty big mistake right now. He's going to move up there trying to assault on the king, but he realizes now that he's kind of made an error and he's going to try to apologize for that a little bit by moving in to attack with a second unit. He's going to block with a wall, and the reason this doesn't work is after he heals his riders, they'll be at 4 health, but the Fire Imp will increase its attack while it attacks that wall, so it's going to have 4 damage that it will deal to those riders, and it'll take them out even though he already healed them. So there you see the riders die, and the king is going to strike that wall fruitlessly. That mage is going to attack both of those units. He'll take a little bit of damage there as well, and in the end the red player is left with some stronger units. So he heals his king back up to full immediately with the blessing that his priest produced, and then he's moving his Fire Imp forward to attack on the opponent. In 3 turns, he'll pretty much be able to kill his opponent king without resistance. So he's killed a lot of the blue player's major units that he got out there. So he's going to have to make a second climb back up that mountain and try to assault him in a different way. Here he's going to move across the plains with his Rogue Knight. He's going to place a wall in his opponent's hills region there to prevent him from making gold with it and to make some gold himself. And he's going to buff the health of his Rogue Knight character there. And as an afterthought, he'll play this expensive Trumpets of Doom card, which lets him draw 4 servants. He really should have been thinking ahead in playing that at the beginning of his turn so that he would have more choices available to him before he started moving pieces around. But that was his choice. So the red player moved his fire imp from the plains into the lava, and of course lava doesn't produce a whole lot of food. It's not very fruitful, so there is no food to be found in that region. In addition, he's going to summon a sniper right next to his king instead of behind the fire imp in the plains region, where he could generate a little bit of additional food. So now that the red player is eating 5 out of 6 food, he is primed and ready for the blue player to starve him out. And unfortunately, he has several units that only have 1 health. So that's going to be a bad situation for him. Now, the blue player was very greedy just now. He used a duplication potion to mimic or to copy that sniper, and that's completely unnecessary. If you look at his hand, he has a huge variety of servants that he's never going to play in a reasonable amount of time. He just couldn't get the gold for it. But he did starve his opponent out. He took out that fire imp as well as the opponent's priest. So the red player fires back and kills the blue player's priest right there. It's a little bit of revenge. Understandable, certainly. But the blue player is not very well hindered. You see right now he's going to move his rogue knight. Well, first he's going to place a silver mine in his opponent's region there, so he's no longer getting any food. That was the only region the red player controlled. Now he's starving. And he's going to move his rogue knight. He should be moving it up next to that king and then using a wall next to the snipers to block the sniper's attack. He could weather the king's attack and then attack back and win the game immediately, but that's just another situation where he forgot the main objective of King's Conflict, which is to take out the opponent's king. So he's going to place a few units. He's looking at where to place his wall. He wants to place it either in that forest or in the hills, and I think he makes the wrong decision because putting it in the hills there, it gets damaged unnecessarily before the opponent's sniper starves. So the red player now has 2 health on his king. He doesn't have a priest anymore, so he can't heal him up that way. He has a Kraken card to burn, so now he has 36 gold. And of course, when he burns a card, the King of the Hunt generates a Hunter's card. So that's what he did. He played that Hunter's, and now the blue player's turn starts again. He has that same opportunity that he had and did not take the turn before. He can move in with his Rogue Knight and block a second attack with the walls so that the Hunter wouldn't kill him. But he chooses not to do that. He's kind of got this roundabout, goofy way of doing it, but the complex way it worked. So the opponent king's going to strike that wall, and he'll strike back over it and take him out. So that was a win. Now that was a kind of a goofy win, and we're going to go back over it and see how he could have won on turn 3. It was very interesting. He could have had the victory early on if he hadn't been distracted by the intelligent red player. So this is how the blue player didn't win the game on the 3rd turn. If you remember, the red player had just moved his stonemason into the mountains and then summoned a silver mine right next to it. Those are both fairly expensive cards, and the silver mine wouldn't have actually done him a lot of good in this instance because the blue player was easily able to move up and destroy it. What he was actually doing there is distracting him. He wasn't sure of what the blue player had in his hand, but he knew well enough that he should distract him and draw him away from his king. So what he did was, the blue player moved up to destroy that stonemason, which he did, but he actually could have won the game like this. If he'd moved just below the king's region there, that hills region, and then placed a wall, which he has in his hand, right next to the king, that would draw the king's fire because it is closest to him. So he'd be able to, 1, attack with his mage on the king, and his king would not fire back at the mage, he would fire at the wall instead. And 2, having that wall in the hills region, he would have complete control of it. He would be able to place the mercenary riders in the region that he controlled any space he wanted. He could have put it right next to the king. And the king still would have fired at the wall instead of the mercenary riders because the wall has a faster attack speed, the attack speed of ranged. So the mercenary riders would have taken out both the priest and the king in one go because he has 2 attacks. But the blue player didn't even consider it because he was so focused on those units in the top left. So that's an interesting way that in King's Conflict, you're not just playing the moves your opponent makes, but their mind as well. You can distract them, you can infuriate them, and certainly you can beat them in unexpected ways. Thanks for watching, guys. King's Conflict is a free online game you can download at kingsconflict.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, or check the game out on NDDB or GameJolt. If you'd like to support King's Conflict, you can share it with your friends, contribute online in the forums, or even design and submit maps. Download King's Conflict at kingsconflict.com and play today, guys. Thanks.